Well, that's all I got for Brucey, really.
Yeah, you made a lot of really good points about Brucey. So, my number 3 is really nice part of a really famous game, actually. Obviously, I'm talking about lighting up an airport in Modern Warfare 2. This moment, like, it completely makes sense in the story. But never, I don't think in any other shooter do you just walk into an airport and just start destroying everything.
You don't. And how can you explain that to people? Like, why are you shooting all those civilians, bro?
Oh, well, I'm trying to start World War III. Yeah,
That goes over well with parents.
Yeah, and not to mention, because I really wasn't too super into Call of Duty at that point. Like, I was about to get to my peak of Call of Duty later on. But I remember people talking about it, and they're going, well, geesh, this is the most horrific graphic thing they could have done.
They put a warning before that mission where they're like, you can skip this.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was just really awkward. Like, again, it kind of needed to be there.
Yeah, it's a crucial part of the story, but...
They could have done something better.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun, don't get me wrong. Don't mean to sound like, a psychopath.
Right.
But, I mean, it was different, but at the same point, it's one of those moments where, like, the second, you realize, oh, I'm supposed to be shooting all these people, you immediately go, this was in real bad taste. And it'd be like making a wrestling game based on Chris Benoit's life. And, like, the last mission is you killing your family.
And then hanging yourself.
It's like, yeah, if you're going to do that, you have to get there. But, shouldn't really be there.
No, not at all.
I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but...
I mean, my uncle was in the room when I started playing that. He's like, why is it giving you that warning? I was like... Let me explain to you what's going on and why that's there. And he's like, so what's about to happen? Started up the mission, and it was just like, shoot people. He was like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And just left. I was like, yeah.
I think part of it also is the fact that it happened right at the beginning of the game. It was either the first or second mission.
Second mission.
Really early on, and it's like I get the idea of, we need to start strong, we need to make a big statement real fast, but it's like maybe that should have been something that waited a little longer to where you kind of weed some of the kids out a little bit. Just saying.
Yeah.
But I got nothing else to add about that.
Alright, so hitting my number 3. Alright, I'm switching up my number 3 real quick because, like, one of them's awkward, but the other's a little more awkward, and I didn't really have time to kind of like gauge the awkwardness before I started doing this.
Sorry, I forced him to do it today.
It's okay. But I'm going to put my number 3 is playing Bayonetta. Now, Bayonetta was a great game. I love the combat. The boss fights were cool. But when you start playing the game, you notice something about her, that the longer your combos get, the less clothes she starts to wear. And it's because you attack with your hair, and your clothes are your hair. And you know what? I guess, yeah, right? It's weird. But, that's kind of cool. And it's a lot of fan service, but, like, you try explaining that to anyone. They're like, why is she getting progressively more naked the more, like, ass you're whooping? They're like, oh, well, like, explaining it to him. That face, like,
yeah. What? And that's a gamer telling somebody who society would dictate is a gamer.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm like somebody who's like 80 years old,
You tell them that, and they're like, what the kind of game are you kids playing nowadays?
It is pretty bad.
It is.
I mean, I've never seen, like, this going on in the game.
You'll notice it. You'll notice it. The more upgrades you get and combos you start doing, you notice it. In fact, when you start doing, like, super long chain combos, she's practically naked. Like, she's just moving so fast that the flashes of light are covering her exposed body.
I mean, I guess, again, it makes sense in terms of, you know your demographic.
You know your demographic.
But at the same point, you really don't want to ever do something that could alienate other demographics.
And what amazed me was They brought Bayonetta over to the Wii, and I'm like, that's a family system. What are you doing bringing Bayonetta over there? Something leads me to believe, though, that they kept real clothes on her in the Wii version. I haven't played it because, I don't have a Wii. But,
Yeah.
Still.
That's very odd.
That is odd. That's all I got about Bayonetta.
That's all you got? Okay, so that means it's time for my number 2. One of my favorite moments in a game we played really recently was Until Dawn. And, man, playing through it again, this game was fun.
It was fun.
There was a super duper awkward part, though. That was taking a selfie with Mike and Jessica.
I didn't find it to be too awkward, but I can see how it would be on a list of awkward moments.
This is how meta this moment is, okay? You're in a video game, playing as teenagers, up in a cabin, right? And their first thought is, even though we don't have signal to send pictures, let's take a selfie together.
They make awkward faces at the camera
they're
and
like,
everything.
It's like the worst 3 minutes of the game. It doesn't even take that long, but it feels that long.
And I'm sitting there just watching them. I'm like, you're making me take a selfie? And
yes.
Like,
and it would be different if it was a serious thing where the game developers are like, here, we're gonna make them smile right off the bat. But they both look like they don't want to be there.
Or if they were like plot after it, where something comes out and attacks you, like the psycho's behind you in the picture. That would be pretty cool, I guess.
But it was just a really awkward moment that really didn't seem to serve any purpose. If this was Life is Strange, then I could get it because it's like, okay, we're taking pictures, so later on you have a picture to go back in.
And that game's all about taking pictures. You know how many selfies all of them take collectively? A lot.
But if you go through Until Dawn, I think that is the only selfie that ever gets taken.
The only other time phones are used are for light.
Yeah,
that's it.
So why did we have that moment in there? I would really hate for an old person to be in the room and they're like, wait, so you're playing a video game where you're taking a picture with your phone for no reason.
Mm-hmm. They'd be like, why don't you just do it in real life? I'd be like, that's not part of the game.
Thank you, video games. But that's about all I have to add for my number 2.
Alright, so I'll bring in my number 2. My number 2 is at the end of Saints Row 3 or 4. No, at the end of Saints Row 4. Once you beat the game, there's this really awkward scene in the outro where they're doing the credits, where all the characters line up in a line and they all just start dancing toward the camera. It's so awkward. All of them, even the main bad guy, who's like a 9.5 foot tall big alien dude, is dancing, and I really wanted to skip it. I was really tempted to, but I wanted to see if there was anything after the credits, and there wasn't. And I was like, I sat through that whole awkward situation for no reason. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube somewhere. Just watch it. You'll know what I'm talking about. You'll be like, this is weird. This is really weird. But
that sounds really weird.
I ain't got nothing else to say about that.
Kayfabe is dead, guys. But I guess it's honorable mention time. So I got 2 honorable mentions. I'm just going to blitz through them pretty quick. We mentioned Life is Strange. There's a really awkward moment in that game. I don't know, maybe it was just me. But there's a moment where your 2 main characters, Max and Chloe, are in a pool together. And it's kind of weird because it's like, you play through the game and you're pretty sure Chloe likes girls. And that's completely fine.
You're 100% sure Chloe likes girls.
You're 98% certain, okay?
She did.
You're in a pool with her and you're talking about the girl who went missing, who you think was her girlfriend, but she won't admit that it was her girlfriend. Just too weird. It didn't seem to serve any purpose why we had to combine these events at that moment.
Yeah.
I don't quite get.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I wouldn't find it too awkward, but there was a lot of tension there. I was like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, it was really weird, and then it's kind of like they had to fix that by immediately afterwards having you hide.
Yes.
And no clothes. Just weird. all around, one of my weirdest moments. Wasn't quite good enough to make the cut.
And the following morning, your characters kiss. If you make them, I mean.
Yeah.
But she's like daring you to kiss her. Kind of.
She wanted it. But anyway, for my other honorable mention, I have any sex scene in video games. This was part of the reason I didn't put hot coffee on this list, because I don't think I've ever seen a tasteful sex scene in a video game. It just never seems, for one, necessary, and two, never seems like they could actually figure out sex. Video game developers, there's an internet full of this stuff. Like 90% of the internet is sex.
The internet is for porn and this stuff here.
And us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all that matters on the internet. Thanks, guys. But I mean, it's just, it never looks good. It never feels appropriate. It's just always awkward. I've never been through a game and went, oh, cool, a sex scene. It's always like, a sex scene. I better put this on mute real fast.
Mm-hmm. Everyone in the house is going to be like, he's watching porn.
Exactly. But anyway, that's all I have for my honorable mentions.
I didn't really have any honorable mentions, but when you bring up all the sex scenes in games, there's another one in particular that kind of comes to mind. You play Heavy Rain. In Heavy Rain, there's a sex scene that is also a mini game. Well, not a mini game, but a part of the game, kind of like in God of War. They're like, you gotta unhook a bra, L1, R1, half circle on an analog stick. You know, it's weird. You don't gotta make a game out of it. You really don't. You guys can stop. We get it.
While we're discussing sex-based minigames, there's also a minigame in Final Fantasy X-2 that is very similar to this, except it's because the entire main cast of X-2 are girls.
Yeah, that's true.
The main antagonist for the first probably like 5 hours of the game is also a girl, and you break into her area and you're dressed as one of her goons who has to give her a massage. Very weird.
Why?
Why? That is what they need to have asked themselves. Why did we make them do this?
And you know what? That'll give me a second honorable mention. Playing Final Fantasy X-2 in general.
You know, I want to argue with you, but I really can't. And this is somebody who, personally, Final Fantasy X is my favorite Final Fantasy.
10 was good from what I played.
X-2 reminded me of like, it's like fan fiction.
Yeah. Slash dress up.
Slash dress up. That's actually a really good way to put it.
I felt it was awkward because, like, I played, I say, an hour of the game, and I was like, I can't do this. I brought the game back to my friend that day because I borrowed it from him. I was like, I don't like it. It's weird.
Yeah. And another thing I think is really important here is the fact that they pretty much changed everything except some of the characters are retained.
Yeah.
And the map is retained, sort of. But they've kind of added in new stuff for no real reason.
Give it a little bit of a change.
It just didn't feel right. But I believe that's about all we have for honorable mentions. So while we're speaking of Final Fantasy X, somebody had to do it. I'm sorry, YouTube. It was me. The fake laughing in Final Fantasy X. This is the most awkward moment in video games, I think. I think it's pretty unanimous.
It's on a lot of lists.
A lot of lists.
A lot.
And that's why I kind of felt like I had to put it here. Now, I will defend the scene and say, for one, really early in voice acting. Two, it's fake laughing of fake laughing. It just...
Yeah. It's like they try to make... It's a professional voice actor doing a fake laugh.
For a video game.
For a game, yeah.
But then on top of that, the character is supposed to be fake laughing. So it's like you're fake laughing a fake laugh.
And what you get is a very, very awkward moment in games.
Yeah.
It's like a 30-second scene of just awkward laughter.
And again, I think that was the goal. So
I would like to think so.
I won't badmouth them for doing it, but at the same point, ugh, just so cringe.
It was. The scene popped up and I'm like, this is...
Yeah. I just felt like I had to. But anyway, you're number one, Ty.
Alright, I'm bringing my number one with the entire NBA 2K16 story.
You made this number one?
I made this number one. I just recently played through this story, right? And I gotta say, blown away. Not by how good it was, but by how awkward it made me feel. Alright, so you got your friend Vic, who is just really weird, kind of perverted. He tries to get with your girl, he tries to get with your sister, he's hitting on cheerleaders, he thinks your mom's hot. Whew, weird guy, right?
Weird guy.
Alright, all the fighting they do.
Yeah, he blackmails you.
Blackmails you. He plays his own rap song to you.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that moment.
And he's like, yo, throw me some Skrilla to go big and do this legit. And then when you're like, bro, nah. He's like, well, you ain't never done nothing for me. And then your dude yells at him again. He's like, I just dumped $1.25 million on you.
But before you get too far, I really want to stress how awkward that scene was. Because you're in the car with him, right? You drive in, your guy looks all weird because, you know, it's a creator suite in a video game. Yeah. It never looks right.
No.
But you're driving in a car with him, and he's like, yo, you gotta hear this new rap album I heard. This guy, Boss Keyats. For one, what a dumb name.
Right? B-O, $ K-E-Y hyphen yachts with a $.
But anyway, and it almost seems like to make it look realistic, they have the voice actor rapping the rap over top of the rap he rapped.
It was so weird.
It's like so weird. It's like, you know, that awkward moment, and I'm sorry, Tim, I do this to you all the time.
It's alright.
But when you're in the car with somebody, and they just won't stop singing the songs, and they're not doing well, it's like that.
I do that
in a video game.
Alright, what other scenes are there? The scene where your mom's telling the story about when you were a baby and they're holding the music up to her stomach and she can feel you freaking and vibing. The reporter's like, how do you know? Your mom's like, a mother always knows. I'm like,
because they were twins.
Yeah. I'm like, that's fucking stupid. There were two of them. You can't know. You can't look in your own stomach like, I got my ultrasound machine right here. It's him. Like, no.
Another really good scene for this is the ending. Actually, we can even talk about the ending video with Spike Lee and all the actors, and they start freaking and vibing.
So awkward. For some reason, they're fading backwards the whole time in a seat, and like when Spike Lee gets to the very end, he's like freaking and vibing, and everyone else runs in, and they're like.
But then there's also the scene where Vic dies at the end of the game. I don't mean to spoil it, but Vic dies, right? And then, like, the end of the game, he's reading, like, this huge, long, like, thing. But, like, I don't know what the point of this was. Like, the entire game, you're spent, like, learning to hate Vic. And then they're like, last scene, let's make you love Vic.
And, you know, it's kind of hard to love him, because in the letter, he's like, your mom's? Oh, man, she's so hot.
Your girlfriend? I tried to get that.
And I'm sorry.
Your sister? She was pretty good, too.
Right? And then there's the scene where Yvette and his sister, like his girlfriend and his sister, they gotta squash beef, right? The only thing they do to squash a beef, she brings her in a room, she's like, we gotta stop fighting. She's like, I gotta teach you the handshake. And then they do the handshake. Do it, let's do it. Tap, 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 back, swoosh. And then they sit there awkwardly for like 5 seconds as it fades to black. And the whole time I'm like, I can't understand why anyone thought this was a good idea to produce this script.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Spike Lee. Don't do it again.
Spike Lee, if you're watching this, please subscribe.
Please. I mean, maybe I can meet you in real life. We can talk about your script. You can defend yourself.
You can get us in the new NBA game. We're just going to start pushing for that every video.
Yeah.
Just every video.
I would like to be like a Don Pagnani or like maybe a...
We could be like a reworked version of Stockton and Malone.
Who?
Played for the Jazz in the 90s.
We can be them. We can be the Splash Brothers.
I mean, Stockton, like, I think he has the career record for most steals and assists. They, like, founded the pick and roll.
Really?
They were, like, really known for doing it because Jordan played so much ISO. Regardless, we're getting sidetracked here.
It.
Okay, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, share, subscribe. For real, though, comment with some of yours so we can relive these awkward moments together.
Yep. And we can, like, you can tell us why you thought they were so awkward. Because maybe there's moments that you bring up we totally forgot about.
Yeah, because I think some of our moments weren't so much awkward for everybody.
Yeah.
They were more awkward for us.
Like, I'm sure a lot of people played Bayonetta and they didn't find it that awkward.
Yeah, or played through Ocarina of Time and they're like, this gag's not funny. But
yeah.
But I mean, regardless. Also, if you stuck around this long, you really should subscribe because all October we're doing a Halloween themed scary game.
We're trying. I just recorded my first part for Naked and Afraid. I was very naked and very afraid. Gotta fix something with the audio though. It went a little awry, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of story to it, so you don't really need to hear the game. But you can hear me just fine. And
That's good. That's what matters.
But
But
guess
yeah,
that's
that's
it,
all.
guys.
So Tim, do your famous line.
see you in the next 5 spot, guys. See you later.